Hi, welcome to another session of A Day in the Life of. Today we'll be taking a look at two African Americans who live different lives, but also very similar ones too.
First up, we have a young woman named Sophie.
This is Sophie. Sophie gets up every day in the early morning to go to work. It was really hard for her to get this job because she is a woman and because of the black codes. The black codes were strict laws that detailed when, where, and how freed slaves could work and for how much compensation. As you can see, Sophie lives in a neighborhood of only one color. Whites and African Americans don't mix well together. Sophie also attends a women's organization as well. But because white women and African Americans don't mix very well, she attends an African American one. Just a few days ago, Sophie attended Booker T. Washington's Atlanta Exposition address, where he expressed his beliefs that African Americans shouldn't try to agitate political and social equality, and that African Americans should try and reconcile with whites. He also said that African Americans need to work hard and that whites should utilize African American labor instead of immigrant labor. This way, African Americans would eventually gain their respect and have the same rights as the whites do. Washington also said that earning money is like having a green ballot, as it wouldn't matter if you can vote or not because you have money. After work, Sophie walks back home and without a break begins cooking for her family. As a woman, she is expected to do most, if not all, of the household chores along with her job, without any complaints. Once Sophie has finished cooking, she will eat, then sleep. She will then repeat the same routine the following day.
Ad break.
Hi, we're here with somebody who witnessed Mr. Homer Plessy's arrest. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah. It was a beautiful day, yeah? And Homer Plessy, well, he was just sitting on a train car, a white train car. You know what the problem here is? Well, he's black. Yeah, well, anyways, it was going great, yeah, you know? He was just sitting there, everybody ignored him. Yeah, but when this conductor dude came around, he was like, "Dude, where's your ticket?" He was like, "Here." And the conductor was like, "Dude, you're in the wrong train car." And Homer Plessy was like, "What? But I'm 7th, 8th flight." The conductor was like, "Dude, but you're still 1 days black, so get back in the black train car." And then the conductor and this one other dude grabs him by the arms and drags him off, and he gets arrested.
Thanks for telling us that.
Hi, are you 1/8 African American and 7/8 white? Were you forced to move from the white cabin into the colored cabin of the train? Well, don't fret. Your constitutional rights are being violated, and I, Homer Plessy, can solve that for you. Message me or contact me for more information.
Oh, this looks helpful. Maybe I should write to him. What should I say? Dear Mr. Plessy, please help me. Thanks, Sophie. Let's send it to him. Whoa! Look, it's a letter from Homer Plessy. Dear Sophie.
Well, you see, Sophie, moving someone by force from a cabin on a train where they're seated based on race is actually a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, which states that no state can deny their citizens of equal rights based on religion, race, or any other type of discrimination. The separation of Negro and white cabins and not allowing me, a 7/8 white man, onto a cabin directly violates that clause. Anyways, if you have any other questions, please contact me, and I'm glad to answer them.
On with the program.
This is Daniel. He's an average Joe African American living in America. You know, the usual lynching mobs and ongoing segregation because of the Jim Crow laws. The Jim Crow laws were a collection of state and local statutes that legalized racial segregation. They were meant to return southern states to an antebellum class structure by marginalizing Black Americans. Those who attempted to defy Jim Crow laws were often met with violence and death.
Get off!
Daniel works at the railroads, where he earns barely enough to support his family because of those darn black codes. Just like Sophie, Daniel went to Niagara Falls to attend a meeting with W.E.B. Du Bois to list out their demands. Du Bois believed that every class of people had a talented 10th, which would guide the people below them.
I'm the talented 10th.
He also believed that political and social equality needed to come first if they wanted to become equal. Du Bois and his followers attacked the Jim Crow laws aggressively.
Preach. Yeah. Yeah.
After Daniel goes home, he eats, he sleeps, and he does it all over again the next day.
1, go.
Adverb.
Go.
Hello, my fellow peers. I'm Johnny Howard Ferguson. And I'm sure you have heard of that buffoon, Plessy, who has made an ad. Who you calling buffoon? You, my great sir. However, realize that we are law-abiding citizens, and he is just complaining about how he's not getting what he wants. Hey man, that's not fair. And now you see, how would you feel if a black man sat next to you? Hey man, that's racist. This is why we have separate rail cars. We have one for African Americans. We have one for Caucasian people. And to be even more constitutional, we have one for both that are together. No. And now, you see, that there's nothing to be complaining about. He is just being a big buffoon. No, you're the buffoon. My great sir, please shut up. No. Now, I've taken enough of your time. Please return back to your day.
On with the program. Wow, what a difference. This was such a great segment, and while we aren't supposed to be biased towards our participants, Washington came up with a plan that was great in theory. And while working hard to upgrade the status of African Americans was a good idea, it was rather passive. Du Bois' approach was more aggressive and radical in his views, and actually worked towards equal rights for African Americans. Du Bois met with a group of about 30 men in Niagara Falls, where they drafted a series of demands that essentially called for the end of all discrimination. This led to the creation of the NAACP, which played an instrumental role in the ruling of the Brown versus Board of Education later on.
Going against the efforts of the NAACP grew into a secret society, terrorizing black communities and sweeping through white Southern culture, with members at the highest levels of the government and in the lowest echelons of criminal back alleys. Violence was on the rise, making it danger a regular aspect of black lives. Black schools were vandalized and destroyed, and bands of violent whites attacked black citizens in the night. These were sometimes gruesome incidents where the victims were tortured and mutilated before getting murdered. Families were attacked and forced off their land all across the South. In this cartoon, it shows a dead black person with a wound to the head. On the grave, it says Negro killed in Greeley ratification and KKK. This political cartoon shows the suppression of the rights for African Americans to vote by the KKK and other white Southerners. During this period, the KKK would basically lynch blacks, and also like through the Jim Crow laws, there was a literacy test for blacks to prevent them from voting, since most of the blacks would vote for the Republicans instead of the Southern Democrats.
Just like during the Gilded Age, between 1950 and 1991, South Africa had laws in place to separate the races, and the policy became known as apartheid. They made the black majority live separate from the white minorities in cities. They had intended life for the groups to be separate but equal, just like the Jim Crow laws, but also like the Jim Crow laws, the situation was far from equal because of racism and hate.